We will take questions if possible. If not, then we will have a post-session Q&A. All right. So today, what is the agenda? We are going to see text widgets. We are going to see blending today, which is very important. Sorting and filtering, we have already done that. So we will focus on blending today because that is an important topic. Then we will also do story performance best practices. What are the best practices you should keep in mind when designing a story? Export story into different formats. We will look what is the option when you export the entire story. What are the different options you have, and what are the different layouts you can export your story in. And then, if time permits, we will also go for publishing the stories, which is a scheduled publishing, which is like a broadcasting your stories to different users via email. So if time permits, we'll do that as well. And then we'll have the post-session Q&A. All right. So let's have some refresher. I did not put the refresher here, so let's do that together. So yesterday, what did we discuss, guys? Okay. Yesterday, we discussed the different table options. So what were the table options we had? We had the show totals. We saw that how the totals are shown both on the top and on the bottom, both are possible, right? And
Templates.
templates we saw, which are nothing but your reporting templates. How many templates are there?
4, I think.
4 templates are there. So one is the default template, one is reporting, the other one is alternating rows, and the third one is standard, which is the gray. It automatically puts a gray color on the headers, which is columns or rows. So standard, or what is also called basic, right? You can call it anything. So we have templates. You can do templates. We have something called in-cell charts. Inside the table, you can enable in-cell charts, and then you can, sort accordingly. So the top value comes on the top, and then the bottom value comes at the very end. So in-cell charts can be enabled within the tables. And then we saw the styling. So we have styling which can be enabled and reused. So styling is saved and reused. And then we can have styling rules on these stylings. So first you have to create styling, and then it basically does the styling rules, which takes that styling and then goes for your alternating or children or siblings, and all those styling rules are there. I have already given the screenshot of the up-to-date options, which also has children as well. Okay. So we have that, the styling rules we applied. And then what else we did? We did charts.
Format types.
Format types. Sorry, what is that, Rani?
It is applying colors or something.
Yeah, I mean colors applying that, those are within these styling rules and styling, which you can do background color and all those things. Yes. And then charts, we saw that within charts we have scaling. Chart scaling was an option where you scale to the 2 different charts, which is showing 2 different measures, so that accordingly, proportionate wise, the data wise, the chart height differs, and you can easily deduce the correct values from the chart scaling. And then we can also have variance in the charts. Okay, variance in charts. We saw that how it can be shown. Either it can be shown as a percentage, or it can be shown as a separate, values only. And then you can have the inline, that means overlapping within the chart. There will be another color which will show you the variance analysis. So all those options are there within the chart, which is very important. And then we saw something called trellis. So trellis is one of the good ways to actually provide multiple dimensions and repeat the chart for each member of the trellis dimension. So that's also an important feature which we discussed yesterday. So those are the important things. And then we saw the widgets, accidental deletion, right? If you do the accidental deletion, then in the classic stories, it is like it will give you the option for very limited time, like few seconds. Okay, and then you can restore. So it will give few seconds to restore. And the ODE, the optimized design experience stories, you can use the undo button. So there it is much safer and you will not lose your changes so easily. Okay, so those are your different options we discussed. And then few miscellaneous things, of course, we discussed in our pre and post session Q&A, like calculated columns, and then how to do the n-1, n-2, go back 2 years. But we were not able to do it for a calculated measure, like for a restricted measure and all. That part I'm going to check and get back to you how we can do that. Is there a workaround around that? Because it's not as flexible as BW or HANA, native HANA, where you can write some logic there. So I will check on that and then I'll let you know. So we discuss that as well. Okay. Today's topic, let's start into the text widget first. Let's start with text widgets. So we'll cover that and then we'll go into the blending topic as well. So what are text widgets? See, we have seen all the different types of widgets. We have the table widget, we have the geomap widget, we have the chart widget. In the chart also we have different types of widget. But we also have the text widgets, because when you put the different data in a graphical format like charts or in a tabular format like tables, you have to put some title or the heading as well. So that's what is your text widgets. And text widgets can be dynamic in nature also. Either you can directly type a text and make it a static text, or you can make it as a dynamic text as well. Like for example, in this screenshot, you can see that we have dynamic text elements. These are all the options for dynamic text. You can add story properties. What are story properties? Like what is the name of the current user who is executing the story? What is the current date? What is the current time? Who last modified this particular story? Who was the creator of the story? So on and so forth. So these are your story properties, which you can very easily add as a dynamic text to the story, right? And then we also have dimensions. You can put dimension values. You can put input control values. If there is a calculation input control or a measure input control, or you have story filters. The story filters can also be easily added, and model variables. If you have any variables or prompts defined at the model level, then the values for those can also be shown dynamically on the text widget. So that's where the text widgets come in very handy, and the text widgets will give you the flexibility or the options to dynamically show the text. And of course, we have the hyperlinks also, which also we will discuss. Hyperlinks basically gives you the option to jump to another page or another story or another web page, completely external URL, that all those things also you can provide. So hyperlink gives you the ability to click on the link and jump to the story. Just what we did to jump. We created a simple story with one text widget, and then we put a hyperlink to jump to our geo story. So those are the types of things you can do with hyperlinking as well. So dynamic text is different and hyperlinking is different. Dynamic text will give you the option to dynamically show the data, and hyperlink will give you the option to jump to another location. And symbols can be pasted into text widgets as well. Okay, if you have certain symbols you want to put, like for example, you want to put a delta symbol, the triangle, or you want to put a currency symbol, or you want to put the other symbols which are there allowed in SAC, then you can put those symbols also. You can also put images can be put. So you can add images also to your widgets and then put some text there. So all those things you can easily do it. So those are the text widgets which are important to understand. And then hyperlinks, as we discussed, when you create a link to jump to another location, that is called a hyperlink. So the hyperlink option for the widget can be used to navigate between a page in a story. So you can give hyperlinks to jump to different pages within a one story, or you can give a hyperlink to a completely new story, which we did. And you can also do an external website. If you want the user to jump to your company website from the company logo, then those options can also be enabled via hyperlinking. So when you create hyperlinks, you have these options. You can give a mobile app URL. You can give an external website URL. You can give a page within a story, or you can give another story as well. So those are your options for the hyperlinks. And then you can also tell the SAC that you want to open in the same tab or you want to open in new tab. Sometimes we don't want to lose the tab in which we are working. We want the hyperlinks to open in a separate tab in the browser. Then those options are also available. Okay. Then we have R visualization widgets. Yes, I think Shriyata was interested in this. She was asking what are the different chart types available for R visualizations. So R visualization is a very powerful visualization and it's a separate widget. If you go to the SAC and you will see that there is a separate widget for the R visualization. It's not our simple chart widget. It's a separate widget because it needs some scripting to be done. It needs some inputs, specific inputs and scripting to be done. So R visualization is very, very powerful. Sometimes the charts which you are not finding in the out of the box SAC charts, then you go for R visualization widgets. So R is an open source programming language. You don't need any license for that. However, if you are not satisfied with the embedded R server, which automatically comes by default with SAC installation, and it has its own libraries installed, it has its own packages installed. So if you are your requirement is satisfied with those, then you don't need to separately give any custom R server configurations. But if you don't want the default R server which comes with SAC, then you can provide your own R server details in the configuration. Then you can use the packages installed on your custom R server as well. By the way, R is an open source language. It's a programming language for statistical algorithms and formulas. So used by statisticians mostly. So you can use that custom R server as well. The R server runtime environment provided by SAP allows you to access interactive R visualizations with automatically configured R server. That's an important keyword. So you don't need to do anything special to use R. Immediately you can start using the widget, which is R visualization, and then do your charting and scripting. But you have to be aware of the language. You have to know how the R script works. You have to understand the syntax, the coding language and syntax there, and then you can play around with the scripting. So this is one example of the R language driven chart where there is a script editor. You have to provide some script. You have to tell SAC which library you want to use, and from within that library, which function you are using. So that's what the syntax and language I was talking about. So that's what you have to tell the widget that what it needs to show. Some examples of R related charts you will be interested. We did the word cloud, by the way. We dealt with the word cloud, and we have other charts also. We have the heat map kind of a chart. We have the topography related charts. We have the map related charts. We have the waves related charts. So there are a lot of charting options available within the R server. Pretty advanced charts, I would say. SAC compared to this, SAC has basic charts and some advanced chart, but R server has very, very advanced chart and very, user intuitive charts as well. And if you want to see what are the different packages which are available, then I have given the link here. So there are a number of packages, and one of the most popular packages is ggplot2 package. So you can explore that. There are a lot of charting options available there. A lot of functions and libraries comes as part of that package, and then those libraries will give you the chart functionalities. And I have also given the link for R charts and graphs. This is what Srilata was looking for. So we have the rgraph.gallery.com. Also, there is a learning journey for the R languages and packages for SAC specifically, what are installed already. So you can click on that as well. So these are the types of R charts which are available. For distribution related charts, we have violin, density, histogram, box plot, etc. Then we have correlation related. We have heat map, scatter plot, connected scatter, density, two-dimensional, etc. Then we have ranking, where you have the bar plot, spider, radar, word cloud. This is what we used, word cloud. This is a ranking related chart. But we have other charts as well. And then we have the part of a whole, pie chart, dendrogram, circular packing. Pretty advanced charts, and there are lots and lots of charts in our language. Again, the most famous package which gives us those charts is ggplot2. That's a good starting point. So you can use that to see what charting options are available. Remember that SAC hosts an R environment with R packages that can be called using R scripts. That's what I was telling. So you don't need to do anything special. It automatically comes with R environment, and you can easily do it. The only environment which is, or only the package which is not included is ShinyR. They have mentioned this specifically, that ShinyR package is not supported due to public network security issues. So, but the ggplot2 is included, so you can check that out.
Thanks, Devanshu. That really helps a lot.
No problem. Yes, I told you I will come back to that. So I didn't get time so far, but now we have some time, so you can check that out.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
No problem. And the link of different R packages. Yes, I have also given another link where you can jump directly to the packages. It has the list of all the packages which you can use, and you can explore. Click on that package. It will take you to the our website, and then on the package it will show you the details of those packages as well. Perfect. Next topic, composites. Again, very important. There are special widget types which are called composites in SAC. What is a composite? Composite is basically a group of widgets. So these are complex widgets which combine different individual widgets. So for example, if you want to create your company logo with some title and with some image, then you can go for a composite widget. And composite widgets are reusable across multiple stories. So you create one composite widget separately, independently, and then use that composite widget in multiple stories. So what that means? That means it is the flexibility SAC is offering for you to use a composite widget where you will combine a text, and you can combine an image, and you can combine your company logo, and so on and so forth. And that you want to lock as one widget which everybody should use in their stories, for example. So you can create a composite widget, and then you can tell the users that now you can use the composite widget. I have saved it. You can save it just like how you are saving a model or a story. You can also save a composite widget, and then that composite widget you can very easily use across multiple stories. So that's what is a composite widget means. They typically contain other widgets and data sources that are grouped together into a single widget, allowing for consistency in your story design. And this is an example, like we have the SAP logo, and then we have some title, and then we have some ribbon, etc. And then that becomes my composite. I will save this as a separate independent object, and then I will use that within my story. Because composites exist as entities independent of a specific story, they can be shared with other users and can be reused among different stories. So you can share the composites as well. A story can contain several composites. So you can have 5 different composites and you can use all of them in a story. But a composite cannot be part of another composite. You cannot use one composite inside another composite. That's not possible. But you can use multiple composite widgets inside a single story. That's possible. How do you create a composite? Composites are available only in optimized design experience, OD, optimized story design, and only within Canvas page. But I think now with the Q4 2024, I think Q3 or Q4 2024, composites I think can also be used with responsive pages. So we will test that out. But usually it was designed for a Canvas page, but Canvas page it will work really nicely. And responsive pages also, they are now releasing it or they have released it already. So we'll try to use that in a responsive page. Creating a composite is only possible if you have specific permission within SAC. Very important. Nobody, like, no, not nobody, not everybody will be able to create a composite in SAC because it has specific security, privilege, and permission roles required. Only if you have those roles, you can create a composite widget. You can access the composite widgets from the stories section of the main menu, and you can easily save it as a separate object. Okay, that's why I'm saying the specific permission is required, because when you click on the stories, on the top, you will see an option called composites. If you're not seeing that option called composites, that means you don't have the access to create a composite. So you have to talk to your administrator and see if you can get the access for a composite widget. And then once you have created the composite widget, then you first have to import it. So there are 2 steps. First, you have to import the composite widget in your story. And once it is imported, it will show up in your assets on the left-hand side pane. You will see the assets. So under assets, you will see that composite once you have imported it. And then you can use that in your stories. Once it is imported, it is listed under composites in the asset pane, and you can easily add it to your page then. If any imported composites are not added to or actively used in your story, and you transport your stories to another system from dev to QA, for example, they will not be transported with it. So please be aware of that. You can import the composite in your assets in the story, but if you are not using it actively in any of the pages as a widget, then when you transport your story, the composite will not tag along with it. Only when you will actively use that composite in your story, then in the transport, the composite will automatically be added. Once a composite is added, you can configure it as any other widget in your story. The actions apply to the composite as a whole rather than the individual widgets. However, theme preferences can apply to individual widgets of the composite. So usually all the actions will apply to the entire composite widget. So we'll try to create a composite today and try to add that. But that is the fundamental of the composites. It is basically a combination of multiple widgets act together as a single widget, which you can then reuse across multiple stories. Okay. And then overview and landing pages. Yes, this is what I was talking about. It is one of the good practices in SAC to create overview pages or landing pages. What do I mean by that? So suppose you have 10 stories in your project. You have created 10 stories. Now you have put all those stories in a public folder. You have a project, and inside your project, you have a project folder. And inside the project folder, you have 10 stories there. Now you want the users to use all these 10 stories, but the user has to individually access the stories, go in that folder, click on the story, or they have to, have 10 URLs. They will save that URL as a bookmark, and then they have to go into each individual URLs and then click on that URL or save it in the browser, but still it will be 10 different links, and then they will click on them and then go to the stories. That's not a very user-friendly way to access multiple stories. That's why we create something called an overview page or a landing page. That gives us one-stop shop for jumping to all your stories. So please follow this. This is going to be highly appreciated in every project because this is going to make the user's life very easy. So what you will do is you have two options. First option is create one story which is only dedicated to giving the user the links for all your stories. Like this one, the first screenshot, you see there is only one page here, planner landing page, and they have given strategic workforce planning for analysis and demand forecast. You have these tiles, okay, and in these tiles they have given these links, the task link or productivity demand forecast. So these are links which you can click on it, okay. Hyperlinks are embedded inside these tiles, and then some images are given, okay. They can click on it and jump to forecast related report. When I say report, I mean story. When they click on risk, they are jumping to a risk related story. Risk response, adjusted gap by year, productivity. So you can put these reports. So in this project, say for example, we had 7 reports. So the first 4 was analysis, and then the remaining 3 is your forecast input. So you will enter your input from these input templates. So input templates are grouped together separately here under demand forecast header, and then your actual reports, which are your read-only stories, are under your analysis. So this is a nice way to provide the user one single story. So they now have to bookmark only one URL, which is this story URL. Once they have that, then from within that story, they can click on it and jump to individual stories. That's one way. The second way is the first page of your story. So say for example, you have one story with 3 pages, okay, and you want the user to jump to these 3 different pages from within this story. You don't want a separate story. You don't want to create a separate story. Within this story, you want to provide those links. Then the first page of that particular story should be an overview story or a summary story. Whatever name you can give, name is up to the consultant and the client. But usually I have seen overview as the name or summary as the name or landing page as the name. Sometimes we can also give landing page here. There you will give all your hyperlinks, and from these hyperlinks, they can directly jump to page 2. This is jumping to page 3. This is jumping to page 4. So those pages you can provide it in the link, and that comes very handy when there are multiple pages. 4 pages are not an issue, but when it comes to 15, 20, 25 pages, then it becomes really handy to have one page as the overview page, and then you can click on that and jump to different pages. So that is basically a good user experience, a seamless and properly classified user experience, which you can do. So those are your landing pages. Okay. All right. So I think let's create some text widgets, and this composite will do that hands-on, and then we'll go into the best practices. What is the performance best practices? And then we'll go into the blending as well. Okay. So let me share my SAC because right now you're not seeing the SAC screen. So let me stop sharing for a minute. Okay, let me share my other screen. All right. Are you able to see my screen where you see the SAC?
Yes, Devanshu.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go back to our stories, what we were working with. So we'll go to sales analysis geo. And you see we have so many pages now in this story. So the story performance is slightly degraded. We have 20 pages, right? Let's go to the edit mode. Okay, so we have the edit mode, and the last page is our dashboard one, which we were dealing with, right? So let's go to the last page. I don't want all these widgets. So what I will do is I will do Control A. I'm going to get rid of that. Get rid of this and remove this lane. I'll remove this input control. So I have a single lane. I just want to keep it simple. Okay. So right now we will rename this to what are we doing here? We'll do text widgets. Okay. We'll do text widgets. So now I'm going to just put a simple table. From this, I'll copy this. So I'll say Control C. I've copied this and then go back to my text widget page. And then I will do a Control V. So the table is now here. Now what we will do is we'll put some text widgets and do some dynamic text widgets. So what I will do is I will go to the left hand side panel and then you will see something called text here. So this is your text widget. So if you bring it here and then I'm going to move this slightly down and then put this guy on the top here. Okay. And then we will make it slightly bigger. And this one can be put a little bit up. Yeah. So now I'll say, and I will put this little bit here so that it's clear and it's not hidden. The top part is viewable. It's clearly legible. So now what I will say is, I will say user, for example. By the way, I'll click on this edit styling and I'll just make sure it is black, the font, so that it's visible. So I'll change the color to black and then I will come here and enter some text. So we'll say user. So who's the current user? If you want to know that who's the current user who is executing this report, you want to showcase that username on the top and you want to showcase the last modified also on the top. So you will click on this user. So you will type first, click on this, type user and then the colon, and then you will go to the three dots and you will say add and you will say dynamic text. In dynamic text, we have all these different categories. We have story properties, dimensions, input controls. What we need is in story properties. So if you click on story properties, you have current user, current date, time, last modified date, date, time, creator, page number, tab number, etc., etc. So we have a lot of a lot of system provided story properties you can put in your text widget, and then we will use the current user and we'll say create. So now you can see the current user is my name, Debanshu Mukherjee. So I'm using this and it took from this user profile. So whoever is logged in SAC, their username will be provided here. And you see, this is gray box. So this is a separate component and this gray box is your text widget, which is basically your dynamic text component. Okay. And then you hit enter and then I will say last modified. When was the story last modified? Again, you click on three dots, then click on add dynamic text. And then we will say last modified date. You can also read date and time, but that granularity we don't need. We just need the last modified date. You can create that as well. It will say November 24th, which is today, 2024 was the last modification which was done. And then you can go to the styling panel and give some background color for it so that it is clearly visible to the end user, and it will be easy to see. Okay. So now we have the user, Debanshu Mukherjee, last modified November 24, 2024. So I'm going to save it. This is the dynamic text we added to basically the text widget. Okay. I will create another text widget and now I will create a hyperlink. So what I can do is I can make this a little smaller and then I will say Control C, and then Control V. So the text widget has been duplicated. So I will now here, I'll delete all this. And what I will do is I will give a hyperlink now. So this is the dynamic text. And this is now you can give hyperlinks also. But before hyperlink, what I'll do is I want to put an input control here. So what I will do is I will add a lane for input control. So I'll say add lane to the left and I'll make it smaller. And then I am going to put an input control. So this is your insert input control. Either you can do this or come to the left hand side pane. And then you can also do input control here, one and the same thing. So you can use either one of them. So I'm just going to use the input control and I'm going to use the product. Maybe I'll use the, okay, here we don't have the product. Why do we don't have the product? Oh, this is a different model. Hold on. No, this is sales analysis geo. So, oh, this is a different model. So I'm going to change this model to sales analysis geo. And then I will see the dimension, which is product. Yeah. So I will use product and I will say product type. Okay. So product type filter by member. And I want mountain and racing both. I'll say okay. And also I'm going to make it slightly bigger. And then I'm going to say show and hide. I don't want that cube icon. I don't want apply selected. I don't want inactive. And I don't want warning. I just want title, subtitle, and select all option, which is good. And then I will go to edit styling for this and then give a background color here. Okay, maybe not background color for this. I'll give a background color for the entire lane. So the lane background color, I'll choose to maybe blue. And then this will be prominent. Yeah, this is good. So this is my input control, the page input control. So I will choose only one here. Say, for example, I'll just choose mountain. Okay. So these are only mountain bikes related data. So now what I will do is I'm going to enter here what is the value of the input controls. So if you have multiple input controls, then you can actually give the values here, what has been selected. Although it's not required because right away you can see it here, but just to showcase the functionality here. So what I will do is I will say, again, let me go to the styling, make sure it is, the color is black. And then I will come, I'll say page filter. So I can say page filter and then again go to dynamic text, add a dynamic text. And then instead of story properties, now I'll go to input controls. And you can see that we have the select here and then we have the product type. Product type is my input control, which is the page input control. So I'll choose product type. And then it will show me whatever I have chosen here. If I have chosen mountain, it's going to show mountain. If I choose all, it's going to convert it to all. And if I'm just saying racing, then automatically it will show racing. So the input controls, whatever you are choosing, is basically being displayed dynamically here. So this is also another example of dynamic text. Okay, let me save it. And now I'm going to show you the third component of the dynamic text widgets, which is your hyperlinks. Also, you can do story filters. So we have a story filter also. This is a page filter. If you want story filter, then you can, okay, I'll make it slightly bigger. And then I will enter, I'll say story filter is, then again go to the three dots, add dynamic text. And then I will say story filter. We have a section called story filter. And then we have a date here. I'll select that. So right now story filter is all. So if I select a date here, say if I want to see 2018 data, then automatically it will tell me that story filter is 2018, page filter is racing. And if you have other filters as well for the story or for the page, then you can do that as well. Or if you want to see the model related prompts and those values, and all that also is possible. So I'll save this. So this is a dynamic text which is showing me who's the user, when was this story last modified, and then what is my page filter and what is my story filter. So that is what is dynamic text. Now I'm going to duplicate this again, Control C and Control V, and then bring it aligned here. And here now I'll say I'll delete all this, and then I will say hyperlink. So hyperlink, I'll just say link, and then I will say go to flex model. So remember we have another story, which is a story based on the flex model story. So go to the flex model story. I'll use that. And then for the hyperlink, select the text what you want to do for hyperlink, and then right click and add hyperlink. Okay. And then it will tell you that where do you want to put that hyperlink, or where do you want to point that hyperlink to? I want to point to a story, and I will choose a story here, and I'll go to my folder where my stories are there. And we have something called flex model story. So my hyperlink is now active. Which page? So I have multiple pages in the story. I have 3 pages: dashboard, sales overview, hierarchy, and import methods. I'm going to make it to first page and then open in new tab. I always click this because I don't want the user to lose the current tab where they are working on. So I'll say done, and I will save it. So now what I have done is I have created a hyperlink, and that hyperlink is going to take me to another story, which is basically my flex model story. Okay. As I told you that you can also paste some symbols. If you want some symbols, like for example, you want to put a currency sign, okay, or a delta symbol, the triangle symbol. So you can do that as well. So what we will do is we will go again to the left hand side panel, and then we will say symbols. Where is symbols? Maybe in others. Yeah, there you go. So we have something called symbols, like for example, currency symbol or your delta symbol or any other symbol. So you can do that easily by dragging it first here. It is going to ask you, insert a symbol. Which symbol do you want? So you have all these symbols. I'm not sure if you can put some custom symbols also. Maybe the custom symbols you can put it as an image, because images can be custom. So you can just take an image of that symbol, and then if you want something which is not here, then you can put it as an image as well. Okay. But here right now we will just keep it simple. So we want maybe a dollar symbol. So we'll use this currency symbol. Okay. We don't have the dollar here, but we can use this currency symbol, or you can use delta symbol also. That's fine. I'll just use this delta symbol. So I'll click on it. It will say symbol copy to clipboard. Okay. So right away, you will not see the symbol in your story. It will say symbol copy to clipboard, and then you close it, come inside the text, the hyperlinked one. Okay. And here you paste it. Control V. There you go. So the delta symbol is now here. You can place it either before the link. Okay, so if you want this to be before this, like this, and then you will say there's a delta link for going to the story, which might give you the delta data, which is not here, which you want to see, just as a hypothetical situation. But you can put that link there. And if I want to have another link, so another symbol, sorry. So I'll click symbol and I'll say dollar sign. I have to come out of this, and dollar sign, symbol copied to clipboard, and then $sign is here. Okay, because my cursor was there. So now I have this, and I will put a space. Okay, so there are two symbols I added. One in the text, which is basically just before that freehand text link, and then one after the hyperlink, which is my currency symbol. So now I can save it. So all these symbols are also possible in your text widgets. Okay, now let's see how it looks. One more thing I want to do is I want to put another text widget, a simple one, which will tell the user that these are your filters. So I will bring this slightly down, and then I'll go to the left-hand side panel, and then I will say text widget, bring it here. And then I will go to the styling, make sure the background color is visible because it's blue, right? The pane color is blue, left-hand side pane color is blue. So I want this to be maybe black. And then I will say filters. Okay, the font color is not so great. So now what I'll do is I'll go to font and I will change it to white. And then text type is fine. I will put it to header 1. So it is clearly visible. So now we have filters. It is clearly telling the user that these are all your filters. You can put it as a little bit above. That's also fine. And then you will put all your input controls here. I just have one input control, but you can have multiple input controls. That's fine. And then we will have to save the story. So now from a user standpoint, basically we are making it more user intuitive so that users immediately know that this is the last modified date. These are my page filters, story filters, and this is a link to a separate story. So if you go to the view mode, now we are ready to see it in the view mode. Always, it's a best practice. Whatever change you are doing, always go to the view mode and check how the story is looking like so that you are putting yourself in users' shoes and you are seeing what they will see eventually, right? So that's what you will have to do. So let's see how it looks like in the view mode. So now we have so many pages in the story, my God. So we have around 21 pages, 20 pages. Okay, so now if I go to display tab bar, the pages will come like this. In the tabular format, let me go all the way to the end. Text widgets. Let's see how it looks like. Yeah, looks good. So we have filters on the left-hand side. So that pane is dedicated for filters. And then we have some dynamic text here. And then we have our tables with styling enabled on it. So that's great. Now, if I click on it, let me see if it is working or not. So if I click on it, because I put a symbol there. So that symbol should not disturb your hyperlink. That's what I'm checking. So it should open that story. Yes, it's opening my story, which is my sales overview run by. Okay, so that is also working fine. So this is how you will put the text widgets. You will make some dynamic text which you can add, and also now you can add images. So let's add an image here. So what we will do is we will put another image widget now. So what we'll do, okay, this is view mode. Let me close the view mode and let me close this one as well. And what I will do now is I'm going to make some space for an image widget. So I'll make this slightly down. I'll make, okay, now if you want to move multiple widgets together, see, now we have 3 different text widgets. So one way is I can move this first down, then this down, then this down. I don't want to do like that. So if you want to move multiple widgets together, then you just select these widgets. So draw a box around them. All of them should be selected. You see these two got selected, this did not get selected, so it's fine. Press Control and then select that as well. And then you move them together by hovering over it and putting them down. Okay, that way you can move multiple widgets together on the page. And now we have some space for the text, for image. So what we'll do is we will go to again our left hand side panel, and now we will go for where was the image? Yeah, here. Image. So I'll put the image here. Okay. And now it will say add some image. So I have already put an image in the exercise files. So let me show you. So if you go to batch 1, you have exercise files. In exercise files, you have the same folder which we have been using, best run bike with geo coordinates. Go there, and there you have assets folder. Under assets folder, you have two images, the best run logo and the back to landing page. So there are two images there. You can use those images. So let me go back. I'm going to use this best run logo, and we will put, I have already imported that, but I'm going to delete that for now and then re-import it. So you can delete that. Yeah, I'm going to delete that and then add an image. And once you go, and then it will take you to the local folder explorer, file explorer, and then you can choose the best run image. Okay, there you go. So this is my best run image. Now, right now it's not showing anything because it is in white. So it needs some background. So when you put the background, then it will start showing up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make it bigger and I'm going to make it fit into this section on the top. And I'm going to remove the left hand side panel and I'm going to make it smaller. Okay. And now I'm going to give a background color. So click on three dots, click on edit styling, and then widget background color. I'm going to put it same. And then immediately you'll see that the best run symbol has come here, which is maybe this can be a company logo and you want to put the logo on the top of the page. You can do that as well. So that's how we'll do it. And this also, I don't like this cube symbol and this sales analysis geo. So I'm just going to show hide that. So I'm going to say show hide. I don't want to see the table title. So that's gone. And then I don't want to, this is fine. Table details I need. Table details will show me how many filters are applied and all those things. So this is fine. I don't want the title because title was taking unnecessary space. So this is created, and I'm also going to do some borders so that it's clearly differentiated between the text text widgets and your table widget. So I'm just going to put some border here. So edit styling, and then I'm going to put the border. Where's my border? Yeah, all borders. Okay. And line width you can change to 2. And that's how you will have a proper border for your table. So I'm just going to save this. Okay, so it is successfully saved now. So we have multiple text widgets. We have an image widget as well. Then we have my dynamic text widget where I'm showing username and last modified. Then I have the page filter, story filter, and then I have an hyperlink which will give me the access to go and open. Maybe let me try this. So let me go to the view mode. Maybe when I click on this hyperlink, that story might open in light viewer mode. I'm just thinking that maybe let's try that. If that opens, then at least I can show you how the light viewer mode looks like. Okay, come on, open up.
Devanshu, you have R visualization in the dashboard. It's not supported.
Oh, okay, that's the reason. It's not opening in.
Yeah.
I see. Maybe. Okay, I didn't know that. That's good to know. So if I remove R visualization, then it should open. The URL should open. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, or any other story if you have.
Or any other story. Yeah,
story
exactly. Yeah, sure. Okay. But from here, I'm jumping to that other story. That other story doesn't have R visualization. So that should work at least. Right?
Yes.
Okay, let's try that. That's what I'm going to try. So I'm going to go all the way to my text widget. That's a very good point. Thanks for letting me know. I didn't know about that. So I will click on this. Now this story does not have any R visualization, right? So I'm going to click on this. And I'm jumping through a URL. So this one should open in light viewer mode. See, this doesn't have any R visualization. It just has a simple charts and table. So now if I go to file, there you go. Wonderful. Okay. So now this is in the light viewer mode. And if you click on file, you will see something called open story in full viewer. So whenever you are jumping from a URL to another story, there you will see that automatically by default it opens in light viewer, and you will see that open in full viewer is also there. In light viewer, certain functionalities and features will not be available. In full viewer, the full functionalities and features and options will be available. Great, great, great. Yeah, thank you so much, Srilata. Now, one more way to confirm whether it's a light viewer or not. Something in the URL is there. Let me see. URL API true, resource ID, story, view ID. No, here I am not seeing it, but there is something very peculiar in the URL which also tells us that this is a light viewer. I'm not seeing that right now here. So maybe they have changed something there. Okay, but at least we are able to see that this is a light viewer, and now if I go and open story in full viewer, it's going to open in full viewer mode. So that's a functionality of the hyperlinking. And that's why whenever you give the hyperlinks in a landing page, on an overview page, it will always go to the light viewer mode. So you have to put some QRGs also as a best practice. So in our current project, we are giving QRGs. So we have a landing page, we have a completely separate story dedicated for only giving the links to our stories. And also we have links to QRGs. What is a QRG? QRG is quick reference guide. In the quick reference guide, what we have given to the user is step-by-step navigation. Okay, open this link, then you will give the values of the prompt. Then these are your mandatory prompts, these are your optional prompts, and then inside these are your pages. So that step-by-step instruction with screenshots are also given to the user, first-time users. If they are experienced users in SAC, no problem, they will know how to navigate. But if they are first-time users, then the QRGs also are given as a link in the landing page. That's also another best practice. So that's what the text widgets will look like. Okay, and then you can have an image as well. So it's 9:40. So let's take a quick 10 minutes break. We will come back and then we will do the composite widget, which is basically combination of different widgets. And then we will see blending today, which is also very important topic. And finally, we'll go to the performance optimization and story export, how to export the complete story. Okay, so let's take a 10 minute break. I will be back by 9:50 my time. Right now it's 9:40 almost. So I'll be back in 10. All right, let's share my screen again. Okay, so let's continue. So basically, we did the text widgets. We put some dynamic text. We have put some hyperlink. We did some imaging. And now we'll go to composites. Let's see the composites. Okay, so I told you that composites are not created just like a normal widget. Yeah, it will behave like a normal widget, but first you have to create the composites, right? Because I think here is a composite. Yes. So here, when you go to the plus, and then you will say composites. Here there's an option called composites, and then there's an option called import composite. There is no insert composite. These you can directly insert. Image you can insert, shape you can insert. By the way, shapes also you can insert very easily. And let me show you a shape. Shape will be like this. You have your basic shapes like your square, your circle. Then you have your device related shapes if you want to do that. And then you have some buildings, miscellaneous. So here also you have the currency symbol if you want to include that. So all those shapes also you can include. But the composites, if you click on the insert plus, the composite is not inserted, it is called import composite. So that's my step number 2. But before I can import a composite widget, I have to first create the composite widget, right? So let me go back to the text widget. And then I will create a duplicate for this. Okay. So now we'll rename this to composites. Okay, so this is our composites. And now instead of this best run, I don't like this best run. I want to create a logo, a proper logo with some text in it and some nice looking maybe image, a little bit of an image. So I'll use this best run, but I want to add an image also and I want to write some text as well. And that together I want to add as a composite. So for that, what I will do is, first of all, let me save the story. Not save as, sorry. Save. Okay, so story is saved. Now what we'll do is we'll click on the story option here from the left-hand side panel. We'll click on the stories. Once you click on the stories, you will find here stories as the first option, then bookmarks we can create bookmarks. And then we have third option as composites. Again, depending on your privilege and security access, you might see this or you might not see this because composites need a specific separate role and privilege. And for that reason, you might not see it. Since I am the system owner, so I'll be able to see most of the options. So I'll click on the composites and this is the symbol of a composite. Okay. We already have one composite which got downloaded when I downloaded the standard content for the rapid FP&A. So they have the composite created. You can have a look at that as well for reference purposes. But I want to create my own composite first. So I'll click on this composite and this is going to open a story-like interface. Okay, this is not a story, by the way, this is just a composite. Okay, and here what we'll do is we will add maybe I'll add an image first. Okay, so let me go to image. I'll put an image and same image I'm going to add image. Okay, best run. I'm going to change the styling. Background color, I'm going to give it the same thing. Okay, now I'm going to put it here and I'm going to reduce the size a little bit. Okay, this is fine. Next, I'm going to add some text. So again, I'll go back to my left-hand side and I'll add some text here. I'll say best run is bikes and more, something like that. And then I'll again edit the styling. I'll make this aligned. Okay, and I'll edit the styling. The background color, I need black. That will look good. And the font, I want white. And I'll click on white. So I'll bikes and more. And text type, I need a big text like bikes and more like that. And now I'm also going to add an maybe shape. Yeah, let me add a shape. And shape will be, let me see if I have a bike shape here. Okay, I don't have a bike shape. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go into Google. Okay. And bikes image. I'll just type bikes image. And then these are my bikes image. Maybe I'll take this one. By the way, just make sure that you also have selected the all result, more tools. There is something which is like 3. So those images, don't take the copyright images, that can create an issue. So we have the free images from anything is fine. Maybe I'll just take this one. I'll take a print screen of this one. Okay. And I will save it on my local desktop. You're not seeing that screen. I'm just saving it on my local desktop. I'm going to save it in the assets. Okay. So I'll just say bike image. By the way, what are the types of images which are preferred in SAC? We have SVG vector or PNG. These are the two preferred image types in SAC. SVG vector type of image or PNG. If you don't find any SVG vector for what you're looking for, then go for PNG. PNG is small, it's not as heavy as JPG. So PNG images are easily handled in SAC. Okay. Now, I will add an image again here, right? So what I will do is I will again go to image, drag it here, and already best run is here. I don't want that. I want to add another image for the bike. And there's my bike image. And then this, I will make it smaller. Okay, and then bring it here. Bikes and more. And I'm also going to just put a simple another image as well. So I'm just going to say, not this image, sorry, not image, shape, I meant shape. So I'll insert a shape and I will use this handshake icon because this symbolizes collaboration. So I will use this shape here and I'm going to use this here to fill the gap. Okay. And then this. Okay. So yeah, this looks fine. I'm just going to put some border around it, edit styling, and then background color is fine. I just need some borders. So all borders and corner radius, I will make it slightly curved and border color is fine. This is okay. I'll do it too. Yeah. Looks good. So now I have bikes and more best run. And then we have a collaboration shape, and then we have the image of a bike. You can place this anywhere you want. If you want to place it here on the right hand side or on the very left hand side, all those you can do easily. That's not a problem. But this is okay for me. For now, it is fine. So this is a new composite I created. This is a composite which is a combination of my image. So I have two images. One is the bike image. The other one is the best run, the name of the company. And then we have the saying like the every company has like a punchline. So I have the bikes and more, and then we have the collaborative shape here, which shows that we collaborate well with our customers. So now we have this new composite ready. So now I'm going to save it. And just like any other story, this is also going to ask me where do you want to save it. So we'll use our folder. And now I'm going to create a new folder called composites. Okay, I'm going to use this. And this I'm going to say best run bikes logo. Put this here, save it. So this is my step number 1. Here what I did was I created a composite and then I saved it in a folder so that it can be reused across multiple stories. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back now to the best run, and now I'm going to remove this best run. I don't want this. Oh, by the way, why I'm in text widget, I should not deal with text widgets. I have to go all the way. Didn't I create a new page? I did create a new page for composites, isn't it? Let me refresh it. Maybe I didn't save it. Okay, so let me go to the edit mode. Let me go back to my stories. And then we have our sales analysis geo story. Let's open that. Now let me go back to edit. Okay, it's loading all the widgets. You see, because of now the story is heavy in terms of the number of widgets, the number of pages, etc. So it's taking some time. So now I'm going to go to the last page, composites. There you go. So now we have, okay, page filter cannot, sometimes, this kind of issues you will face. Page filter cannot find dynamic text object. And then we have the story filter also. So I'm just going to put this down a little bit. And then if this happens, what you can do is you can just put it again as your dynamic text. So we'll make it slightly bigger. Okay. And if it says cannot find, just delete that. And then again, we'll go to add dynamic text, input controls, and product type. That was our page filter. So racing is selected. Yeah, sometimes this gets a little bit disturbed. So not a problem. You can easily put it back. Now I'll save it just to make sure. And then we will remove this image of best friend and I'll put our composite. So now that our step number 1 is completed, which is creation of a composite and storing it in a reusable location. Now I'm going to delete this. And then how do I delete? I just clicked on it and pressed delete on my keyboard. And then I'm going to insert a composite and import it. Now it's going to ask me from where do you import your composite. So we'll go to our folder. Now we have a new folder which we created, composites. And then I'm going to use best friend bike. You have imported composite best friend bike logo to assets. This doesn't mean that it will automatically come in my story. So I now have to click on the left hand side panel. And now you will see we will have composites as well. Now I'm going to drag it here. So it has come here. Okay, so this is not good. I have to put this down. Actually, it came here. So I'm going to just do Control Z. And I'm again going to bring the composite. Okay. Here. Maybe it's not. Let me make this lane bigger. Yeah, has come here. I want it to be here. Somehow it was snapping to that lane. So I'm going to put it back. Yeah, this is better. Of course, it's going to take some space and you can pan it a little bit. Okay, and then make it smaller. No, but this smaller will hide it. So yeah, that's what we have to do. So what we'll do is just bike. No, it's getting. Okay, let me do this. So let me first this, I'll select this, I'll select this, I will select, and then I will move them down. And I had one more text widget. Where is that? Yeah, there you go. So I will move this down. And then I'll put this composite here. Yeah, I know it took a lot of space on the top, which the screen real estate, it has taken a lot, but I just wanted to show you. I mean, usually the composites, we keep it on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, and then on the top, if it is on the top, then we make sure that we place it in a way so that other widgets are not overlapping or hiding. So we do that, and I think this is good. This table, I'll make it slightly smaller so that it is, I don't have to use the scroll. So I will make this so that it comes in the same page. Yeah, better. And this has a scroll bar, which I don't like. Now it's gone. Okay. Okay, so let's make it bigger so it is aligned with this restaurant bike, and then I'm going to save it. Very crude example here, but I just wanted to demonstrate the functionality here, which is your composite can be saved. Composite is basically a combination of multiple widgets which can be saved and then reused across multiple stories. And now you can save this story as a template. Remember, we can save the story as a template. So you can say save as template. So use that functionality so that everybody who will use this template will automatically have this composite in their story, and then they will not deviate from the company standards. Or you can also save the theme of this particular story and then use that theme elsewhere. But the best practice is that you will save it as a template and then ask all your developers and teams to use this particular template. That way, you will make it reusable. So this is one example of how a composite will work, and the composites can be used inside a story. Okay. All right. So with that, we'll quickly shift back to our theory now. So let me stop the share for a minute and let me go back to my OneNote, the local version. Sorry about this switch. The one with on OneDrive is not updated with the latest content. So that's why I have to just shift the screen share a little bit. So that's the reason I stopped the share. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. If you're not able to see my screen, just let me know, but I'm going with the assumption that you are. Okay, so we discussed the overview pages and landing page, so that's great. Now we will come to story performance, best practices and guidelines. Okay, so there are some formatting and there are some performance guidelines from SAP which you should keep in mind when designing stories. So what are those formatting standards and the guidelines? Let's quickly go through that. So the need for communication standard. Communication standard means that you have to have clearly defined colors for your company, because every company will go for a set of color palette. Some prefer dark colors, some prefer lighter shades of color. So you have to clearly define that as your color preference, okay? And then save it at a complete story level, and then save that story as a template. So you can define the color palette of your page, you can define the color palette or background color of your widgets, different pages. How do you want to see? You want to see canvas pages in a different background color. You want to see the responsive pages in a different background color. All that standards you can save as a reusable setting, and then you can save that story as a template and then ask the ask the developers to use that particular template. So I'm going to show you how you can save the color palettes or the color related standards at a complete story level, so that you don't have to repeat it for every page, for every widget. You don't have to repeat it. Once you set it at a complete story level, all your pages, all your widgets will follow that color palette and background colors and all those settings, and then save that story as a template and use that across the development teams. So that's how the best practice goes from an SAC story designing standpoint. So have a clear message in the sense, put the story as a template and then clearly communicate to all the teams that you have to use this template, because this template has company approved color palettes, shades, and the design guidelines. So this is an example of a before setting the standard. So everyone is going and everybody is using whatever color they want. Some developers are using green background, some developers are using the alternate and the blue background. Some developers are using white, some developers are using big font versus small font. So there is no standardization. That's a bad design. So because the architect, the SAC architect has not set up proper guidelines or standards for all the developers to follow. So that's why the first thing when you start a project for an SAC, always design your first story as a template. And in that story, you put story level preferences, the theme preferences, which means you will put the colors, what canvas color, what color canvas pages should have, what color responsive pages should have, what kind of widget should follow what standard, so on and so forth. So you will set the standard at a story level, which we'll see in a moment, and then you will save that story as a template and then use it. That will enable a seamless and consistent design of your SAC reports, and from a user standpoint also it will be consistent. So this is a bad design example. And the same thing, if you will standardize it properly, this is a good design example, where you are clearly laying out the text, the proper text is there to ensure that you are communicating what is the number, and you are clearly highlighting it. You are color coding your thresholds. So this is a reference line. Remember, we have used reference line. So you have put proper reference lines. You have put the color thresholds, conditional formatting based on the reference line. So if it is more than the reference line, here the color coding is red. If it is lesser than the reference line, it's blue. And this is an inverted color. Less than the reference line is your red. More than the reference line is your blue one. So based on whatever KPI you are showing, whatever measure you are showing, you will set your reference line, you will set your variance analysis properly, you will set your trellis in your charts and all those things. So all that you can very easily do with proper setting at the story level. So you have to do that so that you don't create unnecessary bad design, and you don't do any unstandard or non-standard designing. So this is a good example and this is a bad example. See, the colors are seamless. You have set the color for all the numeric charts. So numeric chart should look like this. Your line chart, bar chart should be having this color combination, and so on and so forth. So this is, and you will save that story as a template, and that becomes your standard. How do you do that? At a story level, you will go to this more 3 dots, and then there is theme, and within theme you have preferences, and you have a pencil icon. Once you click on that pencil icon within the theme and the preferences, then you will find all the setting for a page, where responsive pages, what charts should look like, what color palette charts should have, what is the default text and the color and the size, and default tile background for both canvas pages, responsive pages. You want tile specific setting, like for example, tables. How do you want a template to be applied to a table? All the tables should follow the same template. The header, the shapes, the input controls. So this setting is at a story level, so that you don't have to repeat this for every page, for every widget. And that's why this is the first thing you should do in an SAC project, and save that story as a template, and then ask all the developers to use that template as a starting point. So this is how you will save it at a story level. Story preferences apply only to a single story, but remember, you can save that story as a template and then use the ask the developers to use that. So this is how you will save it. Okay. You can efficiently define formatting for all aspects of a single story. Excuse me. Save the story as a template and use that template for future stories. This way you are setting the standardized guidelines for everyone to follow. So I would highly recommend that you should do this. Then comes the performance guidelines. Very, very important. So this is a formatting guideline. The formatting guideline, discuss with your company client, and then set the standards for the color palettes and set the story preference for standards at a story level, all the formatting. So this is formatting standards. Now comes the performance standards. So you have to also maintain the performance guidelines and standards so that your stories do not become unusable, right? Useless. That because if the story is opening in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nobody is going to wait for that long just to see a few charts and graphs. So it should be very, very fast. It should be within 3 seconds. The threshold we follow here is within 3 to 5 seconds max. It should not take more than that. If it's taking more than that, then definitely some optimization has to be done. So what are the performance guidelines you have to follow? The first and the foremost guideline you should follow is the KISS principle. KISS. Keep it sweet and simple. Or sometimes it is also called keep it so simple. Simple means don't overload. your page with too many widgets. Don't overload your story with too many pages. Keep it simple, and if you need more data to be shown, divide it into multiple stories. And within stories, divide it into multiple pages. But pages also keep the number a healthy number. Don't go crazy with 30, 35, 50 pages. No. Keep it simple. I would say keep it 10 to 15 pages. That is good enough. Don't go beyond 15 pages, because then every page will have widgets. Every widget will trigger a background query to the model. So imagine so many queries. And if one story is sending 20, say for example, there are 20 or 25 widgets across all pages. So they are sending 20 different queries behind the scenes to the model to get the data. And then there are 100 users, right? So 20 into 100. So imagine your 2000 queries, it is going and trying to fetch the data from the same model. So performance will degrade. So that's why I'm telling you these performance guidelines are important to follow. And that's why also I have seen instances where there was heavy JavaScripting. Okay, so everything was scripting based, because scripting provides so much flexibility. They didn't go for data actions, they went for the scripts, advanced scripts using the TypeScript. And then the story today is now non-usable, it is useless, and we are now redesigning it as a data action driven. So that's why from the very outset, keep these things in mind. What are the different guidelines? First, rather than designing a large story with many pages, try to limit your pages and create different stories for each use case. So keep the stories separate as much as possible. If you want to refer to a related story, put hyperlinks. As we saw, you can easily put a hyperlink which will enable the user to jump to another story. So use that functionality wherever possible. Use pages to break up your story by categories or type of information. As we saw that for every type of calculations what we are doing, or every type of features we are exploring, I am creating a new page. So do that. But again, now my page is more than 15. It has gone to 20. So that is also not good. So you have to keep that limited. Try to keep the number of individual widgets on each page of your story limited to 6 or less. That is the guideline from SAP. If it is more than 6, then gradually the performance will start to degrade. So 6 or less is the guideline. But sometimes you cannot stick to these exact numbers. It might go to 7, 8, or 9. I would say keep it less than 10 on a single page. But SAP is saying that 6 or less. But I would say 10. 10 is also okay, not bad. But if you can keep it 6 or less, that will be really ideal. Avoid charts with more than 500 data points. So charts, don't put very heavy granular dimensions like your sales order ID or your country. So those have too many members. And if there are too many members, then chart will become very heavily loaded, and that will impact the performance. So keep the charts, avoid the charts which has more than 500 data points. Reduce that by using a higher level dimension. Load invisible widgets in the background. Invisible widgets means the widgets which user is not seeing on that page. They are on the other pages. So those are invisible widgets. Only when the user goes into that page, then that widget comes to life. So if you want to load the invisible widgets faster, then there is an option in the edit area where it says loading optimization settings. And in that, choose background loading from dropdown. So what will this do is the invisible widgets, which are not immediately visible on the page, they will load in the background and they will not take the foreground resources to slow down the current page or the current widget. So that is one of the performance improvement guidelines. Apply chart filters to reduce the volume of information in charts with more than 1000 data points. So chart filters you should apply to keep the chart manageable. Apply the top end features to the chart and tables to limit the initial data, and then later if they want to see more, they can see. But for the first view, reduce it by applying the top end features. What is top end? Ranking. You have to apply the ranking functionality, and that will give you the top 5, top 6, top 10. So use that to reduce the number for the initial view. When adding tables to your story, keep in mind the goal of the tables. To help ensure readability, try to limit your tables to maximum 500 rows and 60 columns. This is the default. But when it goes beyond that, then you get an option to, increase the drill down limit. And in that drill down limit, you can go infinite, or you can go, 10,000 rows or 15,000 rows, accordingly the columns will reduce. So you can use that. But recommendation is keep it to a maximum 500 rows and 60 columns, which is the default. If the table is based on planning model but is used strictly for analysis, then deselect that box, planning enabled in the builder, which I did. My model, the sales analysis geo model, is a planning model, but I disabled planning on the table widget because I don't need planning right now. So unnecessary why to load those in the background, the planning related features. So I have disabled planning, which will load my table much faster than if the planning is enabled on that. So if you're not using it, if you're just using it for analytic purposes, but your model is planning, then you can disable this checkbox, planning enabled in the model. When adding images to your pages, ensure that the image's size is less than 1 megabyte. That is a recommended guideline. SVG vector images are the preferred ones. If you don't find it, then PNG are the next one. PNGs perform better than JPG. So PNGs are smaller and lighter. So use SVG image, or if not found, then PNG. When working with blended data, avoid creating linked dimensions on calculated dimensions. So when you are doing the blending, which we are going to see next, avoid the linking based on calculated dimensions. Use the direct dimensions which are present in the models, not calculated dimensions, because the moment you do calculated dimension for the linking, the performance will degrade. This is same as in HANA. So people from HANA background, the calculation view, we always say, don't put a join based on calculated column. The moment you put a join based on calculated column, your HANA calculation view performance will degrade. So similar concept is here. Don't link two different models using the calculated dimensions. Use the straightforward, simple, direct dimensions. Limit the number of data-rich widgets on each page, like maps or charts with a high volume of data points. Okay, don't overload the pages with too many widgets. So how many widgets recommended is 6 or less. But from an experience, how many you can do? 10 or less. Okay, so keep 6 or less if possible. Otherwise, stick to 10 or less. Don't go beyond 10. For a dimension with large hierarchy and all node, remember this all node. When does this all node comes? In the level based hierarchy, the all node will come. We saw that in the date. The top node is called the all node. Collapse the hierarchy and use the drill capability even in input control. Don't give the initial view as expanded. Give the initial view as minimized, so that in one shot only limited data is shown, and then give the drill capabilities. You can drill down to any level as we saw, and then you can expand it. So that let users do that on navigation, but initial view keep it as collapsed. Be aware of progressive chart rendering. There is a concept called progressive chart rendering in SAC, which enables chart widgets to display more quickly when a story is opened in a subsequent time within an hour. So if you are opening a story, you saw a chart, and then you close the story, you came back after half an hour, and then again you opened that story, that chart will render faster now because you have opened the story within the threshold limit of 1 hour. And that, if you want to enable that kind of functionality, then there is something called progressive chart rendering. This is enabled by administrators. So it is one of the admin settings. Okay, the system administration settings, there you will see progressive chart rendering. That's what it does. For tables with large amounts of data, avoid styling rules. So styling rules we created, but that styling rules will work very nicely for less amount of data in tables. If the table has huge amount of data, then the styling rules will slow down the performance. So avoid that if possible. Enable the high performance power plan in your computer settings. In your computer settings, there is a high performance power plan. There are power plans in every computer. You have the balanced power plan, you have the use low resources power plan, or there is high performance power plan. So use that high performance on your computer settings if the scrolling in tables is slow. So suppose when you are scrolling in a huge table widget and it is slow, then sometimes this high performance power plan also comes in handy. Okay, so those are certain guidelines from SAP which you have to keep in mind, both formatting guidelines and then you have your performance guidelines. Okay, then we will see, okay, commenting. I will come to commenting a little bit later on. We will talk about commenting later on. Today, I wanted to finish blending first. So give me like 5-10 minutes more. We will do the blending. Then we will go to the hands-on. We will do the blending hands-on. And then we will stop for today because I don't think we have time for commenting. I thought I will add commenting, data point comments, and other type of comments and collaboration, but I don't think the time is there. So important part is blending. Okay. So what is blending? Blending is basically adding data from multiple models into one single page or one single story. So that means if the data is coming from two different models, if the data is coming from two different models and you want to combine them in one single page or sometimes in the same widget, in one single widget, that's possible. And that concept is called blending data. For blending, you have to first do linking. The prerequisite of blending is you have to link the models in your particular page or in your particular story. So when you will link the models, then you can do blending easily. So that is what it is shown here. On the left hand side, we have data from a different model, which is the finance model. And then on the right hand side, we have data from a different model, which is a shipping model. And both have common dimension region. So there has to be a common dimension. Name might not be the same, but the data has to be the same. So you might have region here and you might have your some other name. Say for example, area here. So area here and region here, that's fine. But the actual values should be the same. Here also it should be APJ. Here also it should be APJ. China, EMEA North, LATAM, MEE, North America. So all those values should be the same. The format has to be the same for that particular dimension. Names can be different, that's fine. So SSC will automatically pick up the formatting and it will match the actual values. So that has to be common. So there has to be a common dimension between the models, which will be used for linking. And once you have linked the two models, then you can easily do the blending. However, in ODE, there are limitations for blending. Okay. So first, let's see what is blending. So as I told you, this is data from finance model. This is data from shipping model. So first prerequisite is you have to link the two models with a common dimension. That's what is called linked dimensions. You can create links between dimensions to define the common data between different models and data sets. You can use the linked dimension to create blended charts or tables. So first prerequisite, link the models. Second prerequisite, do the blending. And blending will use that linked models. So that is what is basically the concept. Concept is when you want to combine data from multiple models into one single page or one single widget, then we will use the blending. And the prerequisite for blending is linking. You have to link the models and then you will do the blending. So once you do the blending, this is what the data will look like. So you have the finance model data, location and price. And here you have shipping model data, location and days order to shipment. So this is a different KPI than the price. When you will link and blend, then in one single table widget, you will have location plus price plus days order shipment. So both will come into single widget and both will show in single chart or single table. So that is what is called blending. So linking is the first step. You link the models, which we will see in a moment. And then second step is your blending. Okay. So that is what is the concept of blending. After blending, you can create calculations that use measures from multiple data sources. So you can use measures. Now we have two measures, one from my finance model, the other one is from my shipping model. A new model is not created. Please note that a new model is not created when you blend models, and the original models are not modified as well. It's not that you are modifying the models or it's not that a new model is created. Links between the models that are blended occur only within the story. There is no impact to models. The function blending is only supported in the classic design mode. Yeah, so basically in the optimized design mode, there are certain limitations. Okay. Before I go into the hands-on, I just wanted to tell you that for optimized story experience, there are limitations for blending. SAP is still working on it. They have not full-fledged been able to release the blending functionality specifically for tables. It's not yet there, and you have to have classic design experience. There, the blending will work on both charts and tables. But for optimized design experience, you have certain limitations. So, what are those limitations? Please keep that in mind. Unsupported data models. So, for blending, these data models are not supported. If the data model, if your model SSC model is based on business objects live data connection support, then you cannot do blending there. If it's an SAP DataSphere model, then you cannot do blending there. If it's the model is connected to the IBP, Integrated Business Planning for Supply Chain, then it is not possible. Blending is not possible. And if you have a new model type with an account dimension, so what is this new model type with account dimension? This is your flexible model, flex model. So if you have your flex model, then you cannot use that for blending. That is also not supported yet. It might be supported very soon, but it is not supported yet. And unsupported links for blending, when you link the dimensions, the common dimensions, then these type of links are not supported. Dimension attributes, you cannot use dimension attributes to do the linking. You cannot use user managed time dimension. So you remember the date dimension has two options, system manage, user manage. If the date is user managed, you cannot use that date dimension for linking. And then time dimension for SAP BW. So if the BW is the source for the model, then if it's coming from BW, then that is also not supported for the linking, which happens for blending. Unsupported visualizations, table is not yet supported for your blending. Charts are supported for your blending. Tables are not yet full-fledged released. I think it is still in progress, and maybe SAP will release that sometime in 2025. But charts, we have blending enabled. Yes, charts, you can do that. And you can see the two model data in the same chart. That's possible. Unsupported features in a blended visualization. So if you have a blended visualization, that means one chart which is showing data from two different models, then you will have these things which are unsupported. Calculated dimension are not supported for a blended visualization. Measure based filter not supported. Show totals option not supported. Planning is not supported for the blended visualization. And few others like this one, creating variances and reference line on blended calculation. I think Shiva or someone a few sessions back, they were dealing with this, and it was throwing an error saying that blended calculations are not supported. That's because he was doing something which had variance analysis or reference line. So if you are dealing with variance or reference line and there is blending which has happened, then it is not supported for the blending. So those are certain unsupported features you have to keep in mind. And then if you are not dealing with any of these, then it should happen successfully, the blending, linking and blending. Otherwise, you will have to wait till SAP releases that feature in the future. Okay, let's quickly do the demo. I know you have some questions, so let me give a little bit of hands-on on the blending and then we'll stop for today. And then next class, I'm going to discuss, I'm going to start planning. Next week, we are starting planning, but I'm also going to discuss the commenting. Commenting is another great feature in SAC, and you should be aware of what is a comment, what is a data point comment, what is a comment widget, and what is a collaboration, etc. So we'll discuss that also in the next session. Okay, so let me switch my screen. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a second and then go back to my SAC. I'm going to share back. Okay. So for blending, so let's create as we are doing. So let's create a duplicate of this. So we'll create a duplicate. And then we'll rename this as blending. Okay. So now what we'll do is we are going to remove this. I'm going to select this and delete it. This one I'm going to delete it. This I'll delete it. Okay. And this also I'm just going to remove it for now. All right. So for blending, as I told you, for the table, it is not supported. We have the charts where the blending is supported. So what now I will do is I will first do the linking. Remember, the first prerequisite for the blending is linking. So first what I will do is I'm going to bring in two charts. So first I will bring in, no, not input control, my bad. So I'll bring in a chart here. Okay, a simple chart I will bring, and it came here. Okay, let me do this. I'm going to remove this left pane as well. 1 second. Remove this, and I'm going to remove the pane as well. Let's keep it very simple. Now I'm going to add two charts. So first chart, and then this is based on, okay, I'm going to change this to what we were dealing with, sales analysis geo, right? Okay, perfect. So for the blending, I'm going to use two new models just to showcase that we can have multiple models added to one single story. So far we have been dealing with sales analysis geo model. So if I quickly show you that, what are the models I'm going to use? I'm going to go back to my folder structure, and then I'm going to go to models, and in the models, this is the model which we were dealing with so far. Okay, sales analysis geo. But for the blending, I'm going to use two different models, which is my sales orders. This is a planning model. Okay, and then I'm going to use the sales order items new measure based. This is an analytic model. So both are my new model types. They are not classic model, they are new model types. One is sales orders and the other one is sales order items. So this has the order level detail, this has the item level detail. And both are more your new model, but none of them is a flex model. Why I am not using this flex model? I could have also used this flex model. The reason I am not using the flex model is because of the limitation. You know the limitation? If you go back to the limitation of the blending, the unsupported data models are new model type with an account dimension, and our flex model has both. It has measures and it has account dimension. So I will not be able to use the model here for my linking and blending. So that's why I'm not going to use that. You can try that out as a homework. If you have a flex model created, if you are following along with me for the hands-on, try to create a chart based on the flex model and see if the linking and blending is enabled. Okay, it won't be. So, but please try that out because you never know. SAP is continuously releasing new features. So I haven't tested all the features in Q4 2024. So maybe they have, but my understanding is it should not allow you for blending and linking. So I'm going to use sales orders and I'm going to use the sales order items, new measure base, but not flex. All right. So now if I go back to my story, I have this chart. Now in this chart, I'm going to open the right hand side panel, builder panel. Now you see the model is sales analysis geo. So I'm going to change the model. How do you change the model? By clicking on this select model. Changing the data source will clear the chart. Anyways, I don't have anything right now, so I'm okay. And I'm going to select the model. So I'm going to go back to my folder. I'm going to go here and I'm going to select the models. And then I'm going to select sales orders. I'm going to start with the order level detail. And then what am I going to add? I'm going to add the measure here. So I'm going to add maybe, let's see, net amount. Okay. And then, okay, what is it? The measure is aggregated across versions and cannot be used without a version filter. Okay, that's fine. So we will put a version filter, not a problem. So we have version here. and we have only one version, which is fine. So I'm going to put the actual version here. And then we have the net amount. So net amount is here. Now I'm going to add a dimension. And what dimension I have? I have sales org, for example, right? So I'll have sales org wise. Yeah. So I have three sales organization. I have Americas, Asia Pacific, and Middle East, Europe and Middle East. So now we have three regions here, three sales organization, and then we have net amount per sales org. Great. Now I'm going to duplicate this chart. Control C and then Control V. So this chart is duplicated. Now I will change the model here for this chart. So this chart is also now based on sales orders because I've copied it. Now I'm going to change that here to some other model. Okay. Either you can, okay, I want to show you the linking first and then I'm going to show you the blending. So then I will go to my model and then I will choose our folder, models, and I'm going to choose the items now, sales order items, new measure based. And then again, I'm going to choose the measure. Maybe we will choose gross amount and dimensions. I'm going to put. We don't have sales org here. Sales org was only there here. So maybe we'll put, we have an attribute. So we'll just use a product. Okay. So product has a hierarchy here. Okay. So that's why it's showing as all. It's a level hierarchy. So here you can drill down. You can click here on the bar and there will be a drill down option. You can drill down and these are all my products for the gross amount. So this is my second chart. Okay. I'll save this. Now, first we will do the linking. For the blending, the prerequisite is do the linking, right? So first we will do the linking. How do you link? So when you click on this particular chart widget on the builder panel under the sales organization, sales orders model name, you will see something called add linked model. So you will click on add linked model and then we have the sales orders new measure based. Okay. And then we'll say, no, not this one. I'll just say create model link. And here we will link the dimension. So I'm going to use the sales order measure based. This one, not the flex one. And I'm going to use the common dimension. So what is the common dimension? Okay, it's already identified, but if I remove this, okay, so now we have sales orders and sales order item new measure based. Two models are there and there is no dimension which is linked. So how do you link a common dimension between them? Sales order ID is my common dimension because the one is order level details, the other is item level details. So the common thread is sales order ID. So I've selected this on the left hand side and then on the right hand side also I'll find where is my sales order ID there and then successfully it has enabled the linking. So if this green checkbox is there, that means it is successfully linked it and it is also available for blending. Sometimes what happens is only linking is enabled but blending is not enabled. In that case, you will see a yellow checkbox here. And there will be a warning message saying that this link can only be used for linking, not blending. So there are certain restrictions, but in this scenario, we don't have any restrictions because we are not using anything which has a limitation. We are using regular models, new measure based models, not the flex model or anything like that. So this is giving us the green symbol. That means everything is fine. So you say set. And now I have basically linked these two models. One model is sales order and the other model is sales order item. Now this chart is based on sales order items. Okay. But this chart is based on sales orders. So these are two different models. But because I have linked them, okay, I have linked the models. Now I can do linked analysis between the two. So if you go triple dot, more options, linked analysis, setting, and then you will say filter the interactions for only this widget, which is the default one. I'm going to change it to only selected widgets, and I'm going to select the widget. There is only one more widget on this, which is called gross amount per product ID. Gross amount per product ID. I'm going to choose that. Say OK. And then, of course, filter on data point selection. I need that. So I'll click on apply. And now, if I save it, because I have linked these two models with a common dimension, which is sales order ID. Now, if I click on AMER, it is going to filter my products for the America region. If I am going to filter on Europe and Middle East, it's going to filter based on Europe and Middle East. If I'm going to filter on Asia Pacific, then it's going to filter on that. So linking is the first step for blending. I have not done blending yet. Please don't think that I have completed the blending. No, blending is not yet done. The first step is linking. So I have linked these two charts, and the prerequisite for linking is that you have to have a common dimension and you have to link that. So I will just repeat the steps one more. What I did was, first I added two charts. First chart was based on sales order model. Second chart was based on sales order items model. And then what I did was I clicked here and then I clicked on add linked models, and I did not select this. This is used for blending. Okay, I will not select this. Instead, I will first create a model link. So that's what I did. I created the model link and I selected this model, which is my measure based. And you will see this is what I did. So that's why you will already see that the linking is already done. This is what is linking, not blending. If I would have selected this guy, then that is blending. Okay. Blending means in the same widget, you are combining data from two different models. But I'm not doing that right now. Right now, this widget has data only from sales order model, not from both models. And this widget has data from sales order items, not from both. So this is not blending. Blending means bring the multiple data into one single widget. So far what we have done is enable linked analysis. Otherwise, linked analysis will not work because they are coming from two different models. If you want the linked analysis to work on two different charts from two different models, you have to first link it and then the linked analysis will work. So that is what is linked analysis between the two different models. Now I'll do blending. So now what I will do is I will copy this and paste it again here. Okay. So this one, what I will do is I'm going to bring this a little down. These also I'm going to select this, control select this, both of them. I'm going to bring it down. Why I'm bringing it down? Because I want a text node here, the text widget, and that text widget is going to tell us that this is your linked analysis versus your blending. So I'm just going to say linked analysis between two different models. Okay, so that will be your this guy and your this guy. These are linked analysis. So they are connected with linked analysis. So that's why I'm just saying that these are your linked analysis. I'm just going to select these two, bring it to the top. And then this one, I'll just edit the styling and give it a background color. So I'm just going to say this is my blue color, and then the font, I want font to be my white font. Okay, and the style should be size, sorry. Size should be maybe not 14. Actually, let me do the text type to header 1. Yeah, this is better. And I'll bring these two a little down because the text is hidden there. So I will make this bigger. Perfect. Okay. So I have the linked analysis between two different models. These are the ones. So I'm just going to make it a little smaller to align this. Okay. And now I'll copy this particular text widget. And this one is my blending. So blending means in the same chart, I'm going to see the data. So I'm going to make this bigger and align this as well. Okay, so now what I will do is, now I will go to the designer panel and add the linked model for the sales order. And now I will select the sales order items, new measure based. Okay. Now two models are added to the same widget. That's why you will see this symbol. So if you see this symbol, this overlapping rectangles on top of each other, one with the background, one is transparent. This is symbolizing the blending. So here we did not do blending, we just linked the two different widgets. But here in the single widget, we are adding the blending. And it is not working. Why it is not working? Let's see. So select this. Okay. For the widget to render, you need to add a linked dimension between the primary model. Okay. So what it is saying is the dimension which we used to link the models, that is missing. That it has to be there. Then only it is able to successfully provide the data. Okay. So we have, what do we have here? We have net amount. And by the way, this circle symbolizes the main model and not the linked model. So we have the main model. Main model is your sales orders and linked model is sales order items, new measure based. Okay. So this circle symbolizes that these measures are coming from your main model here. For the blending, the main model is orders because that's where we started from and we linked sales order item. So that is your linked model. So this circle means that these are sourced from my main model. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in the linked dimension which is missing, and that linked dimension I'm going to bring it, which is my sales order ID. You see this? This is means this is used for the blending. This is the symbol. So I'll use that. And then I'm getting the data for my net amount per sales order ID and sales org as well. So now I don't have any. Okay, so now I have blended the two models. The data is showing correctly. Great. And if you remember, the sales org is coming from my main model. Sales order ID is coming from main model. The circle is there and net amount is also from the main model. Now I can add a measure from my linked model, which is my gross amount. And also I can add a dimension here, which is my from the linked model. Maybe I'll use product ID. So you see, now I have blended the two different models in one single chart. I am using product ID dimension from my linked model, which is the item. And I am using gross amount also from the linked model, which is item, everything in one single widget. This is called blending. By the way, this is not looking very good. So what I will do is I will use the concept of trellis. Remember trellis? We use trellis. So instead of using product ID here in the dimension, because that is bringing all, and I think I can drill down. If I drill down, then it will be, yeah, for each product ID, it will repeat. So what I will do is I am going to, so to have a better view, I am going to add product ID as my trellis, because that will repeat the chart for each product. So that's what I want. So what I will do is I am going to use the trellis. So it's in chart add-ons, trellis. Once the trellis is clicked, the trellis option is here now. Add a dimension from my linked model. I'm going to use product ID. And here I will drill the product ID, okay, to my level 2. And I will make the chart a little bigger. There you go. So this is basically a blended chart. And here there is a warning. Select to see the warning. Blended data cause some values to be duplicated for these measures, net amount. There are no performance variations, that's fine. So right now, we don't have any errors. The warnings are okay. You can still live with that, but errors should not be there. So what I did here was, now it is showing me both net amount and gross amount for different product, which are my BX, CB, CC, all those products which are at level 2, by the way, product type. These are different product types, not the actual product. And for each of the regions. So for BX, for America region, for CB, America region, for CC, America region, so on and so forth. And you can also do that by, if I want the, yeah, no, I think that should be fine. Sales order ID, if I do on the top, no, that will not look good. Okay, yeah, so what is now happening is, for each product type, we have the region, and for each region, we have the sales order ID. So this is how Trellis worked. Trellis made this slightly better. For each of the product type, now the chart is repeating for each sales order, and then you have the the scroll bar where you can do your scrolling and look at all the sales orders. I know the sales orders is a very high granularity. That's why it's showing you this scroll bar. But this is how the blended chart now looks like. I have data from both the models, and I also have dimensions from both the models showing in the same chart. So that is what is blending all about. It is very powerful. But now if I do some variance analysis, say for example, I want to do some variance. So if I click on the builder panel, and if I want to do some variance, so if I go to chart add-ons and variance analysis, and I will say I will use the measure which is my sales orders in use is net amount, and then I will choose from the blended model gross amount, and immediately I will get that limitation which Shiva was also getting few sessions back, Shiva or Kashif or someone, which will say blended calculations are not supported. So blended calculations, this is what we saw in the restrictions also, that variances, reference lines, all those things are not supported on the blended data, and you will have to wait for SAP to release that, or you have to do some workaround and live with that for temporarily until SAP releases this blended calculations. So those are some restrictions you will find, but other than that, if you're not using it, then you should be good and you should be able to see the blended data. That's how the blending works. So I'll just summarize it quickly. I know there are a lot of information for blending. Blending is basically adding the data from multiple models into one single chart or one single widget. That is blending. If it is sitting in two different widgets, one having data from model 1, one having data from model 2, and you are just linking it, then linked analysis will start working. But if you want to add it in one single widget, then it is called blending. And that's how we can use it. Again, the recommendation from SAP, don't go crazy with blending. Don't add more than 3 models. As you can see, we can have more models now. How you can have more models? By going into the more, and you have an option called add new data. You see here, I already have 4 models here. Sales analysis geo, sales order item, measure based flex model, sales orders, sales order new measure based, which is not a flex one, which is by the way set as default here. You can change the other ones to be default. So those are the models which are currently part of my story. And in this page itself, in this widget itself, this sales orders and this is already blended. So that's why the things will become more complicated the more models you add to the story and more blending or linking you will do. So keep that to 3 or less, and then your performance should be okay. All right, guys. So I will stop here for today. I went over a little bit. I know, I'm sorry again, but this blending concept was very important and I wanted to cover this. I didn't want it to drag it to the next week, because next week we are starting with planning. So that's why I wanted to cover this. So thank you so much for your patience. So with that, I'm going to stop the session here. I know 2 topics we did not cover today, which I planned to. One was the export. of the entire story. What are the options? Maybe we can see it in the post-session Q&A. And also data point commenting. That I will not cover in any Q&A. I will cover in the main class next week with the planning. Where if I get maybe 15-20 minutes at the end, then we will cover the commenting as well. And anyways, in the planning, commenting is heavily used. So you'll have to learn about that anyways. Okay, so we'll save this story. Let's not lose our hard work. So let me save this story. And we will stop for today. Thank you so much for the patience. And we will now go into the post-session Q&A. So let me stop the recording and the sharing.